The following is brought to you by Bleacher Report. If you guys want to check out my live post-game reaction show, make sure to have the Bleacher Report app downloaded and ready to fire up right after the game. You'll find me in the Chargers section. Bolt up.
Go to Bolt fam. It's the director coming off an awesome win versus the Vegas Raiders in Vegas with a lot of narratives to follow, man. The Chargers had a whole lot, I would say, that would change things up, change up the postseason, change up their matchup, change up their chances at advancing in the playoffs, riding on this game, and I would say they certainly did not disappoint. On the other spectrum of things, too, the Chargers-Raiders, that heated rivalry ended very embarrassingly for the Chargers last season. I think this game will help us put it behind us as a fandom. Guys, welcome to the post-game reaction show. I'm the director. Again, coming off an awesome win. Want to share with you guys the stakes real quick as we start dissecting some of the performance on this game, which is going to reflect very well on the Chargers' chances to not only make it to the postseason, but thrive in the postseason. Probably the biggest narrative of this football game for all Chargers fans was going to be what's going on with the seeding. The Chargers coming into this week had already locked up the 6th seed in the AFC wild card to face, or in the AFC to face the Baltimore Ravens very minimally. Now, with a victory over the Vegas Raiders and a little bit of help from the loss of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Chargers will instead be playing the Houston Texans. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the Chargers had already played the Baltimore Ravens once this year. It did not end well. Sure, my confidence in going into the postseason in a sequel to the Harbaugh, which I guess could technically still happen at some point, was still there. I'd say, let's bring it on. Let's go again. Let's see if the Chargers can overcome and find, a new life after they've already played the opponent once this season. But I think many Chargers fans would agree with me when I say, hey, dude, if we had a choice between playing the Ravens or the Texans, give me the Texans every day of the year. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Texans fans out there that were maybe hoping we'd be their opponent instead as well, because it's anybody's game at that point. Houston Texans have played very good football as of late. They're a very dangerous team. Of course, it doesn't guarantee a victory in the postseason, but I think it becomes much more likely that the Chargers grab a postseason victory versus the Texans rather than the Baltimore Ravens. This game in particular, and I'm going to say the last stretch of a few games, also very important to the Chargers in their opportunity to actually do something in the postseason, which gets me the most excited. The Chargers, with the 6th seed previous, showed me a little bit of something on offense. Maybe the defense turning a corner again. Would it be enough to stop the Baltimore Ravens? Still kind of unsure about that. But with the way that they handled the Vegas Raiders this week, a division matchup, of course, the Raiders, not the best record. I don't care. You take all of that talk about are they a good team, are they a bad team, quarterback, defense, all that stuff. You throw it out the window when it comes to division matchups. The Chargers handled them very, very well as a dominant team. They not only beat the Raiders, but they squished the Raiders. And that's how a good team handles a less than stellar opponent, in proving that they're still the real deal. Now, of course, the Raiders would score a touchdown in garbage time, giving us a final score of 34-20. But in reality, you can almost look at this score as 34-13. Very close to what my score prediction was in my game preview video of 37-12. Just felt like that kind of statement game by the Chargers, right? We're going to go in here. We're going to beat the Raiders. We're going to remember what the Raiders did a season ago that led to so many repercussions of how this team looks today. You guys remember that, the infamous number that's been living in the back of our minds as Chargers fans for a full year now, 63-21. One of the biggest beatdowns in franchise history, in rivalry history, something that I've had to carry as a Chargers fan for 365 days. It's been miserable. We've had to just kind of sit there and take it, trying to put it in the back of our minds that it didn't happen. But in reality, now that we're on the other side of it, now that the Chargers have swept the Raiders, put them down in week 18, but also found a new life because of that game, I think my perspective of that 63-21 number has changed. What about you, Chargers fans? Do we all realize, do even Raiders fans realize what that number represents nowadays? Now, after the fact, after everything, after the dust has settled, do you guys know what 63-21 means to us as Chargers fans? It means that Raiders fans, yeah, you guys put the beat down, and you guys had something to brag about for a year. But that game changed and pivoted this team's future for the better dramatically. That beatdown in front of GM Spanos forced his hand to make some big moves, improving the team in the offseason. I think that game single-handedly tipped the scale for the Chargers to go out and get Jim Harbaugh. At that point, Chargers fans knew it. We were all rooting for the Michigan Wolverines to go win their national championship, to open the window for Jim Harbaugh to return to the NFL, because we knew that victory for the Raiders would likely result in a dramatic move, which could be Jim Harbaugh by our GM. And honestly, guys, as a Chargers fan of very many years, closing in on 17 seasons now, I got to tell you, that's one of the most significant moves I've seen in franchise history. And Chargers fans everywhere are starting to realize we actually might be the real deal going into the future. This ain't your daddy's Chargers. This ain't the Chargers of yesterday. This is a new era led by Jim Harbaugh, who took a struggling 5-win team and turned them into a 11-win squad, a playoff berth Los Angeles Chargers, and the 5th seed in the AFC in just 1 year. Can I get, who's got it better than us? Can I get a nobody in the chat, please? Can I get a nobody screamed to the heavens, far and wide? Chargers fans, we have arrived. 11-6 is a big deal. Playoff berth, big deal. And we are just getting started. This coaching staff has proved to be the real deal in terms of taking maybe struggling or forgotten talent, turning them back to the clock and making them relevant again. A lot of players, especially on the defensive side of the football, have become studs over the course of one season. GM Joe Ortiz, maybe the best Chargers draft class I've seen in a very, very long time. Picking up talent such as Joe Alt in the first round, Ladd McConkey, who I'm wearing today, ba-boom, in the second round, new first wide receiver 1 for the Los Angeles Chargers. Of course, I think Junior Colson's going to come into his own, and Kamani Vidal and these other guys, but take a look at the pair of corners that he also picked up in the middle rounds with Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still, who are some of the among the best of corners you'll find in this rookie class at the tail end of the season. And now at the close of the season, unbelievable result by Joe Ortiz in his first attempt. Now we have kind of set the bar as Chargers fans. Hey, we jumped dramatically 6 wins in one season under Jim Harbaugh. How many more seasons until we are legit Super Bowl threats? I don't think it's going to take that long, Bowl fam. I think we are literally turning the corner from, hey, we're contenders, we're in the playoffs, we found a rhythm, we're starting to see an identity. In the next year or two, watch out for the Los Angeles Chargers to be very serious Super Bowl threats. And it all started here in the 2024-2025 season. Now, this game in particular, lots of stuff on the line here. Like we said at the top of the show, this game and this victory resulted in the Chargers now securing the 5th seed instead of the 6th seed, which the repercussions of that is now the Chargers are facing the Houston Texans instead of the Baltimore Ravens, which is very, very exciting. And one big thing I always preach on my channel, something I always preach on these shows, something that I tell my family and my friends, everything, I think momentum is one of the most underrated aspects in all of sport. And the Chargers are getting hot right now. They are finding their momentum right now. A division win, man, I got to tell you, I'm not an NFL football player. I'm not a pro football player, but I have to imagine that feels pretty good, right? There's a lot of bad blood out there. You want to not just beat them, you want to squish them. Well, the Chargers are leaving Allegiant Stadium today feeling pretty dang good, having built some awesome momentum going into that one. And I got to tell you, man, when Justin Herbert in particular gets hot, this team becomes a problem for the rest of the AFC. And you know what Justin Herbert did today? 346 yards passing. He was 28 of 36, 2 touchdowns, took the 1 sack, a QB rating of 125.2 per Bleacher Report. Unbelievable performance by franchise quarterback Justin Herbert, and he wasn't done there. He also took off on the ground for a huge play, something we're hoping to see a little bit more of. It was a long of 41 yards. He would total 42 yards in this game on the ground with the QB sneak. Absolute crazy 400-yard day just about for Justin Herbert here to close out the season in Week 18. Spectacular. And that's something you're going to see, again, trickle into the postseason. I'm a Justin Herbert fan. I'm a Chargers fan. I've watched every single game of Justin Herbert multiple times for this franchise. And I see the pattern. I think all Chargers fans will tell you we'll see the pattern. There are stretches of weeks where Justin Herbert can sometimes get a little cold, right? We're not hitting our mark. The reads are not as crisp, and the decision making isn't quite as quick. But when he gets hot, the stretch of games can last a while, right? And right now we're on like week 2 or 3 of Justin Herbert playing hot. And this is exactly the time that you want Justin Herbert on that upswing. The Los Angeles Chargers at 11-6 are now going into the postseason with a hot Justin Herbert, who's really showing signs of taking control and being on that heater that makes him so dangerous and so well known throughout the league as a top 5 quarterback. Going into the postseason with that energy, yeah, I kind of like our chances. Of course, it's the postseason. Anything could happen. The Houston Texans are a very good football team, but Justin Herbert on a heater, that I think gives me a lot of optimism that this team could really dominate. I'd not say dominate, but at least grab at first, win for Justin Herbert in the postseason coming up here soon, man. Very excited. So excited for this matchup, and the Chargers' chances of winning this definitely have gone up. Speaking of which, J.K. Dobbins, we'll say a very decent performance tonight, 18 attempts for 63 yards. That's an average of 3.5 yards per carry. For whatever reason, J.K. Dobbins feels like a very important aspect of this offense. He did great in this performance. Even when he wasn't getting as many carries, it feels like Hassan Haskins stepped in very well too. 33 yards and a touchdown for him. The Chargers' run game, I'm sure, isn't where the team wants it quite yet, but it's certainly at a point now where it's helping Justin Herbert win football games. Herbert, obviously, too, contributing to that rushing stat, putting him well over 100 yards on the day. Very good day for the Chargers offensively on the ground and through the air. As a whole, this is one of the best Chargers games you'll see offensively of the year. But I would be remiss if I went through this video and did not mention the highlight player of the day for the Chargers. He's likely in the locker room right now receiving the game ball for his performance in Week 18, which was, in my opinion, one of the best performances he has ever had in the game of football. And that does go back to his TCU days. Quinton Johnston, 14 targets, 13 receptions, 186 yards, no score, but one of the best Chargers wide receiver performances I have ever seen. Chargers fans in the chat, in the Bleacher Report chat, Chargers fans in the replay on YouTube, please, I need to see some QJ1s in the chat for Quinton Johnston, who is breaking the chains of mediocrity, of drops, of the reputation that he built in his rookie season, and he's turning into a very special weapon for Justin Herbert. Very many times throughout the live stream of the game, I mentioned how proud I am of the coaching staff finally using Quinton Johnston to his strengths, building up yards after the catch, using his unique movement, his unique physicality, and bringing him success that way. But Quinton Johnston took it a step further by not just utilizing his strengths, but creating new ones. The highlight play of the game, in my opinion, was a 39-yard bomb by Justin Herbert. Outreached arm, one-handed catch by Quinton Johnston to help the Chargers score on that drive. Unbelievable highlight. One of the best that you're going to see all season. And it was brought in by none other than Quinton Johnston, the rookie that struggled to hold on to footballs all season long last year. The second-year player that saw his ups and downs in 2024, now finally feeling like he's coming into his own as a legitimate threat. And let's not forget that he's also got, at least 8 touchdowns on the year. Quinton Johnston might be turning into a legitimate threat for this Chargers football team, matched up with, Lad McConkey, and I'm sure other, additions that are going to make their way onto the squad via free agency and the draft pretty soon here. QJ, we're going to consider this your legacy game. We're going to consider this your breakout game. I'm sure we've said that a couple of times this season with some of the performances that he's had. That was one very special Chargers wide receiver football performance if I've ever seen one. So QJ's all around, man. Huge breakout game for him. Almost 200 yards and some of the craziest catches you're ever going to see. Him and Justin Herbert are just going to continue growing in their chemistry and finding more ways to move the football, man. Let's freaking go. On the other side of things, man, Dicker the kicker, 4 of 5. We'll take that all, or I should say every day of the week. Chargers fans know that we've had a very shaky history at kicker, but we certainly feel good going into the postseason with one of the more automatic kickers in the league at this point. Shout out to a lot of the defense, too, on this game, man. My word. Interception, I think first career interception for Daiyan Henley. Pro Bowl snub, if you ask a lot of Chargers fans. Very, very overdue, I would say. And Chargers fans ecstatic to see his comeuppance in the defense. Alohi Gilman making his way back was a presence. Cam Hart was great in coverage today. Derwin James has been playing his tail off these past, 4-8 weeks. I don't know. He's been fantastic all season long. Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa getting in there, forcing a lot of pressure, I'm sure contributing to that Aiden O'Connell interception. Fantastic day for the defense. And you know what? Taking a look at some of the stats for the Raiders, it does speak well to how the Chargers were able to come back to form defensively to slow down Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders enough to get this victory. Not just victory, but statement win. Aiden O'Connell, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Not a bad day for him, but certainly one that I'm sure could have been a lot better if the Chargers defense hadn't clutched up so much. Raiders almost no rushing yards. I'm going to say, 39 rushing yards on the day between Madison, O'Connell, and Collier. Something that the Chargers have been getting better and better at shutting down the run. Something that very much so helped the team win this week. Now, I will say there was one team that stood out for the Raiders this week that was a big problem for this team. Jacoby Myers, yes, I would say honorable mention to Brock Bowers, who ended up with 50 yards and a touchdown as well. But Jacoby Myers certainly kind of went off this week too, 123 yards and a touchdown. Certainly a big day for him. But you know what? The Chargers defense, like I talked about with Justin Herbert and his ability to get hot and how dangerous he can be when he gets in that mode, you can say the same thing about the Chargers. The Chargers, for a majority of the season, had given up 20 or less points all year long. Again, the Raiders did score in garbage time. This score feels more like 34-13 than it does 34-20. Either way, it feels like the Chargers really slowly have been coming back into that mid-season form where they were one of the most dominant defenses in all of football. And going into the postseason, like I said with Justin Herbert, going into the postseason with that version of the Chargers defense is going to help your chances dramatically at picking up a win, seeing how far you can go in terms of your playoff run behind that and quarterback Justin Herbert. The Chargers are as dangerous as any team in the AFC right now in terms of the playoffs. Very excited to see how that turns out in the first game, in the wild card game for the Chargers. Again, the Houston Texans, very talented team. You know, Collins and Stroud and Mixon and all these guys turn out to be a very, scary opponent for any team in the National Football League. But the Chargers, I feel like, have turned into a team that can take down anybody. And I was talking about this too in my stream. Part of me, and again, I'm not trying to look ahead too far here now, but part of me, like any game you're going to go into in the postseason is going to be difficult. Part of me wants another shot at the Chiefs. I feel like we could take down the Chiefs even at some point too. Yeah, we got a long ways to go. The Chargers aren't a perfect team, but we have something right now that we haven't had in a very long time. A freaking identity. This Jim Harbaugh-led Chargers football team is building up the momentum to becoming a Chiefs slayer. And what I mean by that is that I think we're going to finally find the keys to unlock the momentum, to unlock the potential of taking down the AFC West rival and usurping them over the course of the next few seasons, becoming a legitimate football, or I should say Super Bowl threat ourselves. I kind of want to prove that now. I kind of want a shot at them now. We'll see how it goes. Again, biggest thing in front of us right now is to get a playoff win with Justin Herbert, Houston Texans. And it's going to be a difficult game, but very excited just to be here. Chargers going from a 5-win team to an 11-win team with a 5th seed feels pretty dang good, and it's only going to get better. Chargers fans in the chat, thank you guys so much for joining me. Shout out to all the Chargers this week for putting on a good show. Quinton Johnston, congratulations. Congratulations to J.K. Dobbins, who got his 58-yard goal to get his $150,000 contract bonus. The Chargers offense looked on rhythm as always. The defense looked really good too. It's a very exciting time to be a Chargers fan. So Chargers fans, let me know in the comment section below what you think the score prediction between the Chargers and Houston Texans could end up being and how excited you are to face them rather than, I should say, the Baltimore Ravens at this point. How important, I'll reword that. How important was the 5th seed in order to improve the Chargers' chances at winning a postseason game this year? Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. Remember, on my channel, we will be live streaming the playoff game next week for sure. And then, of course, doing a post-game reaction show here on Bleacher Report to close things out and hopefully get us amped to see where we advance in the postseason. Very honored to be here. Very honored to see where the Chargers are. Very excited to see all the Chargers fans alive again behind Jim Harbaugh. We'll catch you guys next time. As always, bolt up, stay frosty. One last time, who's got it better than us? Nobody, baby.